In Japanese history, Yasuke was not a samurai. Some people are appropriating Japanese history and culture and spreading this incorrect perception throughout the world. We Japanese feel very concerned about this fact and would like to correct this mistake, but the language barrier is an obstacle. If you would like to help correct the malicious mistake that Yasuke was a samurai, please spread the content of this video. Give me back the joy I felt when I found out an Assassin's Creed set in Japan was coming out. This trailer seems to trample on Japanese culture, and it only makes me sad and frustrated. I really want them to remake it from scratch. This piece taught me what cultural appropriation and racism really mean. So sad. It is said overseas that Japanese people are not angry, but this time we are genuinely angry. I have also been tired of the imposition of political correctness ideology, which was born out of discrimination issues in the West. There are also voices saying that a formal protest should be made to the Japanese government. Also, Yasuke is not loved at all by the Japanese people. Some people write that Yasuke was a real person and a samurai, so it's not a problem, but if he was a real samurai, why didn't he die together with Nobunaga when he was killed? Even if he was lucky enough to survive, his lord was killed right in front of his eyes, so a real samurai would have committed seppuku for his own honor. But in reality, he was alive, captured by Mitsuhide, and entrusted alive to Nanbando. He had no surname and no land. After all, he only served Nobunaga for a year, which is why there are few historical documents. There's no way he could understand Japanese or society in that year. Do you think that counts as a samurai? He's a servant. You're going to make someone who only played servant for a year the main character of a game set in feudal Japan? They just wanted to make the main character a black person, so they used Yasuke, a real character they hadn't used before, right? To be politically correct. I don't see any other reason. Originally, the word samurai originated from a saburo, a guard who served the nobility in Kyoto, and before the Edo period, only high-ranking samurai were called samurai. So, you couldn't call yourself a samurai unless you were at least a rank above the general of an Ashiguro foot soldier. And a high-ranking samurai was a commander, and had to be able to communicate with them in order to lead a unit. Yasuke, who had been under Nobunaga for less than a year, was unlikely to have been fluent in Japanese, so there's no way he could have become a high-ranking samurai. Even if Nobunaga had given him a sword and a house, and he had become Nobunaga's page, a person who performed general duties around Nobunaga's house, and also served as his guard, and it's possible that he may have fought for Nobunaga in the Hanoji incident, Yasuke was not a samurai. This is not to say that Yasuke was not a samurai out of discriminatory feelings because he was black. I'm just saying this because the pure fact is that he was not a samurai. I felt that we need to make an effort to spread correct knowledge about samurai, and not spread incorrect Japanese history to the world. I'm Japanese. To cut straight to the point, I believe Yasuke actually existed, but he wasn't a samurai. In Japanese history classes, we're taught that Yasuke was brought to Japan as a slave by missionaries, and that Nobunaga, who was intrigued by Yasuke's black skin, decided to take him on as a low-ranking vassal to carry Nobunaga's luggage. Nobunaga loved rare things, and would show off his possessions to those around him, such as golden skulls made by plating other people's skulls with gold, and globes brought from the West. It's likely that Yasuke was part of Nobunaga's collection. Also, one painting of Yasuke was discovered, but he is dressed in typical Western style of the time, and is definitely not a samurai. He does not even have a sword. If you say Yasuke was active in battle, please tell me specifically which battles he was active in and how he was active. You can't tell me, right? Because there is no mention of Yasuke fighting in any of the documents. Nobunaga died in the Hanoji incident. Yasuke surrendered to Akechi Mitsuhide without resistance, which led Mitsuhide to mock him, saying, "This man is not a samurai, let alone a human being, he's just a beast, and let Yasuke live." If Yasuke had been strong and active in battle, Mitsuhide would have either killed him, saying it was dangerous to keep him alive, or recruited him to become his subordinate. And above all, the conclusive evidence that Yasuke was not a samurai is the fact that he had no family name or surname. Normally, a samurai who served well in battle would be rewarded by his lord with a surname and a fiefdom, but Yasuke had neither. So we can say with certainty that he never served well in battle. To any poor souls who mistakenly believe that Yasuke was a samurai and trusted by Nobunaga, just say, "But Yasuke didn't have a surname." The fact that he had no surname is conclusive evidence that it can be refuted with just that. Finally, many Japanese people are angry about this game, but that's not because Yasuke is the main character of a game set in Japan. It's because the game developers are trying to falsify our country's history by lying and claiming that Yasuke is a real, legendary black samurai. If the game developers had said from the start, Yasuke wasn't actually a samurai, he was just a baggage carrier, but we made him a samurai in the game, there wouldn't have been any problem. People say Yasuke was a real black person and he was given a sword by Nobunaga, but there are people who seriously say that if you were given a small knife or a sword, you are a samurai. And they say Yasuke was the tallest person in the Sengoku period, but the tallest warlord of the Sengoku period was Miura Yashiyoshi at 227 centimeters. There were many samurai taller than Yasuke. And Yasuke is neither a samurai nor a warrior. Nobunaga and Nobutada died at Hanoji and Nijo Castle, so what did Yasuke do? Japanese samurai were warriors who risked their lives for their lord, but Yasuke ran off somewhere without avenging his master. A person who runs away is not called a samurai. Is Yasuke the only one to be proud of? I don't know if he's black. You're persistent. There are generally two ways for a samurai to behead a person. One to prove his own achievement. No matter how many heads of foot soldiers he brings home, it doesn't count as achievement. He only brings back heads that he can be proud of, saying, "I fought and defeated such a great person." Two, to cut off the head of a person who sits on the ground and offers him his head, known as kaishakunin. The trick is to aim for the gap between the cervical vertebrae and cut it off with one swing. The reason is that it is done so that the person loses consciousness instantly without suffering for long. Furthermore, it hurts when the head hits the ground after being cut off, so it is considered ideal to let it fall onto the samurai's lap with only the skin of the neck remaining. It may have been a cruel act, but in the values of the time it undoubtedly included respect. Stomping on and destroying a dead person's body, or simply throwing away the severed head, are nothing but barbaric acts that are far removed from the so-called ideal form of Bushido. Did Yasuke have respect for the people he cut off? The release of this game could intensify the activities of those who would falsify history, such as those who believe that there is a Yasuke samurai theory or that Sakanu no Tamiramaro was black. If UBI releases it without any warning, we will consider it a cultural attack on Japan by France or Canada. Since political correctness is a political movement in the first place, a game made based on that ideology is tantamount to a weapon used to erode the culture of other countries. We firmly protest against self-righteous and arrogant companies that say our actions are absolutely righteous, without making corrections or apologies. Some people here refer to the movie The Last Samurai, but I wonder if they've actually seen that movie. Tom Cruise doesn't play a samurai in that movie. He just witnessed and talks about the last samurai of the late Edo period, Watanabe Ken, Sanada Hiroyuki, etc. It's really stupid to criticize a movie without even seeing it. And they never said it was based on historical fact.